Tired of his boring job, this middle-aged man applies for a mysterious scheme. Before he can change his decision, the man gets transported to mythical land, where he has to start a life from scratch. Kenichi is a 30-years-old man who failed to get a good job or a suitable life partner. After getting home from his boring office that is slowly killing him, Kenichi likes to look after his plants and scroll through online shopping sites. At this stage of his life, he literally doesn't care much about anything. One day, while scrolling through random posts, Kenichi comes across an advertisement offering people a new life in another world. It clearly seems like a scam, but Kenichi submits an application without a second thought. The next moment, he teleports to the middle of an unknown forest. Kenichi feels like someone is monitoring him, and while trying to find that person, Kenichi comes across a decaying dead body of a knight. He starts panicking and looks around to find a way back home. After a few minutes, he finally realizes that the mysterious advertisement was actually real. Kenichi copies the gesture he saw in the advertisement, and a blue screen appears before him. Beside his stats, the screen shows two options: Item Box and Shangri-La. After experimenting, Kenichi figures out that he can put any object inside the item box and sell it to earn virtual money. With this money, he can buy anything from Shangri-La, which connects to the online shopping site Kenichi always used. While trying to find a good trading object, he suddenly remembers about the knight's dead body and the sword in his chest. Luckily, the sword gets sold at a good price, and Kenichi gets enough money for food and a bicycle. After using the items he bought, Kenichi sells them at a higher price and continues surviving on this plan. Kenichi is getting used to the forest life, but the wild beasts will not spare him for long. He encounters them soon, but instead of panicking, Kenichi immediately buys some firecrackers and a slingshot to scare away the beasts. Afterward, he gets on the bicycle and reaches the edge of the forest. There he finds a friendly merchant named Foyu, who offers to give him a ride to the nearest city called Dahlia. A beautiful girl is also traveling in the same carriage, but she doesn't talk much and starts playing some music. After reaching the city, Kenichi trades some black pepper with Foyu in exchange for some local coins. However, Foyu advises him to keep the spices hidden, because in Dahlia, spices are smuggled like drugs. The coins help Kenichi in getting a hotel room, but he needs to learn how to read and write in the local language. Luckily, the hotel's worker is a friendly girl named Azalea, who teaches Kenichi everything. She also tests his calculation with a quick question, and declares that Kenichi is going to be a great merchant. In exchange, Kenichi gives her some candy he bought from Shangri-La. Azalea has never tasted something like this, and immediately starts falling for Kenichi. She even offers to become his mistress, but Kenichi immediately declines because of the huge age gap. Azalea still treats him really well, and gives him all the basic knowledge Kenichi needs to start a business here. The next morning, Kenichi registers himself with a business guild, and gets a metal charm as ID. With this, Kenichi can legally do business anywhere. He explores the local market and realizes that Dahlia is almost 100 years behind the human world. As Kenichi has access to Shangri-La, he can buy anything from the modern world and sell it here at a huge profit. The next day, he builds a stall to start his business. Azalea suggests that Kenichi should sell his clothespins, as they are better than the local ones. Her assumption was right, and Kenichi's clothespin sells like hot buns, and even the royals love the product. While working on the stall, Kenichi also meets a knight who is willing to pay a lot in exchange for a good sword. But the thing that shocks Kenichi the most is the beast folk. They are animal-human hybrids who aren't good at maths. After dealing with them, Kenichi realizes that he still needs to learn a lot about this world. Moreover, he has no idea how he was teleported here, and who's the one behind this whole system. But first, he needs to build a place for himself, and that's going to need a lot of money. Luckily, just in a few days, Kenichi earns a huge profit and decides to introduce new items to his customers. He finds some cheap zirconium and cut glass jewelry on Shangri-La and immediately buys some of them. His fellow merchant, Anama, gets really curious about the products and asks Kenichi about his supplier, but he declares it a trade secret. Later that day, a maid visits Kenichi's stall. She had bought a few clothespins before, and now she wants 100 more. Kenichi gets really happy at the big purchase and asks the maid to check the jewelry items. A glittering necklace catches the maid's eyes, so Kenichi puts it aside for her. After she leaves, the beast folk arrive with cold faces and ask Kenichi to sell them spices. Kenichi gets scared and explains that he doesn't have any. Little does he know, the beast folk have all the characteristics of animals and they can smell the spices from Kenichi. Luckily, Anama jumps in and asks the beast to leave Kenichi alone. Selling spices is a huge crime here, and Kenichi gets in trouble with the dangerous spice syndicates. Hearing this, the beasts get really upset, because spices are their soul food, but they hardly get any. Kenichi feels really sorry for them, as he can't imagine a life without species and his favorite curry. He can't sell them, so Kenichi offers to treat the beasts with a meal cooked with lots of spices. However, they must do it secretly outside the city. Anama joins them too, because she has never tasted spicy food before. They camp near the river, and Kenichi uses Shangri-La to buy everything needed to cook a good Japanese meal. Anama and the beasts get really shocked to see the unfamiliar ingredients and tools, but they still try to help Kenichi as much as possible. Soon the atmosphere gets filled with aroma, and the beasts can't wait anymore to start eating. For them, everything tastes magical. They love every bit of the curry and bread and continuously admire Kenichi's cooking skills. The poor guys even don't know about stainless steel and believe that Kenichi has silverware like the nobles. After the hearty meal, he also offers them some drinks, and the beasts call it the best day of their lives. After sleeping under the open sky, Kenichi also gets refreshed and prepared to expand his business. Meanwhile, Azalea is trying to get close to him, but a lady is not a part of Kenichi's goals. He plans to earn enough to live a slow, luxurious life in a similar house he had before. Luckily, a huge opportunity is coming towards him. The maid from last day returns to the stall, and this time she has brought her madam. It's a beautiful girl named Primula who can steal any man's heart in seconds. She seems amused of Kenichi and introduces herself as the daughter of a well-known businessman, Mallow. After buying a necklace, Primula asks Kenichi to meet her father at the company. This is a great chance to build connections, so Kenichi immediately follows Primula to her mansion. Despite being a rich businessman, Mallow is quite polite. He gets really shocked to hear that Kenichi has an item box because not everyone in the city possesses one. Mallow also has an item box and used it to build his company. He's really impressed by Kenichi's unique products and asks him to become a supplier for his company. He offers to pay him 50% retail price, and Kenichi immediately agrees. His stall is working great on its one, but Mallow will help the products reach a bigger market. After signing a contract with Mallow, Kenichi earns millions in just a few weeks. Now he has enough money to start building a house. In the previous world, he lived in a countryside wooden house, and Kenichi wants to do the same here. Just a few miles away from the city walls, Kenichi chooses a spot to build a house. He starts by cutting down the trees and storing the wood in his item box. He also finds out that the item box can't store anything bigger than 10 meters. He needs to keep that in mind. Once he removes the trees, Kenichi starts digging out the trunks. It is taking forever, and Kenichi doesn't want to do the manual labor anymore. In anger and frustration, he buys a whole excavator from Shangri-La. This careless purchase doesn't only upset his wallet, but also forces him to buy expensive fuel. Unfortunately, the fuel doesn't suit the excavator, but Kenichi can't give up so easily. He buys an electricity generator and uses it to run the excavator. It makes things quite easier, and Kenichi cleans up the space in no time. The night is already set in, and the bugs start annoying Kenichi. Azalea once mentioned a bug repellent stone, so Kenichi reaches a small shop to buy it. There he meets a mage who is known for his great knowledge of Dahlia. Kenichi must build connections with such people if he plans to stay here for a long time. Moreover, he needs to work harder to cover the loss he faced after buying the excavator. He tries to sell sugar and salt to Mallow, but unfortunately, just like spices, sugar and salt can't be sold legally. The best option right now is to continue selling the zirconium jewelry. Mallow has introduced these products to other cities, and more people are visiting Dahlia for shopping. This helps Kenichi in buying a small wooden cabin, but only after the delivery, Kenichi realizes that he has to assemble the cabin by himself. Even after spending hours, Kenichi hardly makes any progress. He also has to look after the stall to keep his business going. Luckily, the beast friends offer to help him. Because of having animal traits, they are quite powerful and handle all the manual labor. Thanks to them, the cabin gets fully built in under a month. In exchange, Kenichi treats the beasts with another delicious meal. Now, he must start solving other issues like electricity and water supply. In the next few weeks, Kenichi builds fences and designs a garden to grow some vegetables. He also makes a setup to convert toilet waste into useful fertilizers. For electricity, Kenichi decides to use some solar panels as Dahlia hasn't discovered electricity yet. After setting up everything, Kenichi says goodbye to Azalea and permanently shifts to his cabin. Kenichi finally starts living the slow, peaceful life he dreamed of. However, living in the forest is not as easy as it seems. Just on the first day, Kenichi gets attacked by an unfamiliar beast folk. Luckily, Kenichi has understood that the locals are afraid of technology. Firstly, he attacks the beasts with his slingshot, and then uses his giant excavator to scare them off. On his way back home, Kenichi finds a purple cat injured by an arrow. Out of kindness, Kenichi treats the cat's wound and also gives it a painkiller. But despite all this, the cat is not showing any sign of recovery. As living things can't be stored in the item box, Kenichi takes the cat home. He discusses this matter with the mage, who reveals that it's a bobcat whose skin is very expensive. But Kenichi doesn't want money. He wants to save the poor cat. Luckily, one of his beast friends, Miley, offers to take care of the bobcat. Being a cat hybrid, Miley can communicate with the bobcat really well and helps it recover faster. She even stays for the night and doesn't mind sleeping with Kenichi on the same bed. After a few days, the bobcat finally starts walking and leaves the cabin. Now Kenichi can focus on his garden and setting up a pump to get water from the ground. He even closes the store for a while to focus on his life. But this makes his customers worried, especially Primula. She visits the cabin, and the first thing she notices is the giant excavator. Kenichi doesn't have the right explanation, so he lies about being a mage. Primula promises to keep this secret and asks Kenichi to let her stay for the night. Kenichi can't refuse her, as the city doors are closed till the next morning. Before sleeping, Primula takes a bath, so Kenichi buys a towel and a night suit for her. She gets really impressed by the products and asks Kenichi to try selling them, but Kenichi is afraid of getting noticed by the elite groups. He just plans to live a slow and peaceful life. Primula understands the concern and offers to sell new products under the name of her company. Kenichi likes the idea and presents the products in front of Mallow. During their meeting, Mallow mentions a new guy whose inventions have completely changed the kingdom. One of those inventions is a pitcher pump. Kenichi gets really suspicious because it's not possible for locals to invent such a complex device. He needs to meet this new inventor, but first, he needs to get rid of Primula's frequent visits. One night, she even confesses her love for Kenichi, but he doesn't show interest because of the age gap. It seems like every woman he meets is falling in love with him. The next morning, Kenichi gets visited by the knight who bought a sword from him. The first thing he questions is the solar panels, and Kenichi makes the same excuse of being a secret mage. To keep the knight's mouth shut, Kenichi gives him some steel bars. In exchange for this generosity, the knight tells him more about the inventor. That mysterious guy has even defeated a dragon and also introduced a sauce called mayonnaise. Hearing the word mayonnaise, Kenichi immediately understands that he's not the only modern guy here. With another one like him, will Kenichi be able to run his business, or will his competitor reveal all the secrets? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.